Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Robbie here. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. So far, I've talked about behavior, warning signs, and a growing national conversation around the 25th Amendment. But there's another part of this story that goes beyond personality. It's a blueprint, a plan. It's a document that shows what a modern power grab actually looks like on paper. It's called Project 2025. Project 2025 is not just a political agenda. It's a detailed operational manual for consolidating presidential power. Written by a network of conservative think tanks and policy groups, it lays out a step-by-step plan to fundamentally reshape the American government around one person, the president. At the center of the plan is something called the unitary executive theory, the idea that the president should have total control over the executive branch, with little or no interference from Congress, the courts, or independent agencies. Project 2025 calls for mass firings of career civil servants, not because they broke the law, but because they're not politically loyal enough. It outlines how to replace experienced public servants with ideological loyalists. It proposes dismantling long-standing agencies that traditionally operate independently from political power, and it centralizes decision-making inside the White House itself. And this isn't theoretical. Since returning to office, Trump has taken real-world steps that mirror this blueprint. He has moved to place independent agencies under direct White House control.
Well, the president signing an executive order on Tuesday to bring independent agencies under presidential control, including the Communications Commission, the Trade Commission, and the Securities Exchange Commission. He's asking them to submit proposed regulations to the White House for the president then to determine whether they should be implemented.
He's used sweeping executive orders to bypass congressional debate. He has claimed emergency powers to impose major economic policies.
The case was about Trump's use of something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a law designed for genuine national emergencies like war or economic catastrophe, to impose tariffs whenever he feels like it. But what the justices were really questioning was much bigger: whether any president should have unlimited power to reshape our economy without accountability, without oversight, without even having to explain why. Justice Barrett, one of Trump's own appointees, asked even tougher questions. She wanted to know why routine trade disputes should trigger extraordinary presidential powers. Aren't you essentially asking us to eliminate Congress's constitutional role in regulating commerce? She asked. The administration's lawyer stumbled, unable to explain why normal economic policy should bypass normal democratic processes. Justice Gorsuch went straight to the heart of the constitutional issue. If we accept your interpretation, what prevents future presidents from claiming emergency authority over virtually any economic issue?
And he has pushed to reshape education policy by executive authority rather than legislation. This isn't chaos. It's coordination, it's strategy, and it looks exactly like the structure outlined in Project 2025. And this is where the Constitution is supposed to step in. So, the real remedies are the ones the framers gave us, and they were never meant to be easy. They were meant to be strong, and they were meant to be used only when the danger was real. The first remedy is impeachment. The House of Representatives has the sole power to impeach a president. That means they vote to formally accuse the president of high crimes and misdemeanors. You don't need a criminal conviction. You just need a majority of the House to say, this president has abused the power of the office. And we've seen this before. Donald Trump was impeached twice in his first term. Once over Ukraine, and once over January 6th. The House voted to impeach him both times, but impeachment is only half the process. After the House impeaches, the case moves to the Senate, where a trial is held. Senators act like jurors. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides, and it takes a 2/3 vote in the Senate to convict and remove a president. In Trump's case, the Senate did not reach that 2/3 threshold. That doesn't mean he wasn't impeached. It means he wasn't convicted. And that detail matters because impeachment is not about optics. It's about constitutional accountability. The second remedy is the courts. The judicial branch exists to stop a president when executive actions violate the Constitution or federal law. Presidents can sign executive orders, but courts can block them. Presidents can claim emergency powers, but courts can say no. Presidents can try to bypass Congress, but judges can shut it down.
For years, Trump has been stretching emergency powers far beyond their intended purpose. He declares crises that don't exist, invokes laws meant for wartime during peacetime, and makes economic decisions that should require congressional approval with the stroke of a pen. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act was created in 1977 for moments of genuine national emergency, when foreign adversaries threaten our economic security, when actual crises demand immediate action. It was never intended to give presidents unlimited authority to impose tariffs because they don't like trade deficits or want to pressure Congress.
We've seen courts do this before. Temporary restraining orders, injunctions, emergency appeals, Supreme Court rulings. All of this exists for one purpose: to tell the president that he is not a king. But the courts only work if they're respected. They only work if court orders are obeyed instead of ignored. And that leads to the final remedy, the one that ultimately decides everything. The final remedy is the people at the ballot box. Elections are the last peaceful line of defense in a democracy. If the other two remedies fail, if impeachment is blocked and court orders are ignored, then the people themselves must decide whether they accept the path the country is being pushed down. These are not theoretical tools. These are the emergency brakes built into the Constitution. The question is not whether these remedies exist. The question is whether the country still has the will to use them. And this is where everything becomes deeply uncomfortable. Because when a system starts to break down, when guardrails weaken, executive power expands, loyalty matters more than law, we eventually have to ask the question that people are afraid to say out loud. What if this isn't just a political problem? What if this isn't just bad policy or dangerous ideology? What if this is about personality? Because history shows us something chilling. Democracies don't always collapse because of chaos. Sometimes they collapse because of one person, someone who is charming, relentless, ruthless, and completely convinced they are right. In part 3, I'm going to step away from politics and into psychology. We're going to look at behavioral warning signs, and I'm going to break down the framework that experts use to understand dangerous leadership traits, not to diagnose, not to label, but to understand what happens when personality becomes policy. Because when power meets personality, the consequences aren't political, they're historical. Thank you all so very much for watching my video. If you found it useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And also let me know in the comments what you think. Even just an emoji as a comment helps the algorithm get my videos out to more people. Everything helps, and I would really appreciate it. So don't forget to smash that bell to be notified for part 3, and also always, so you'll always know whenever Mr. Ravi Says has something to say. And if you like what I do and would like to support me, you can buy me a cup of coffee on Ko-fi by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description. Thank you, and you'll see me later.